Hello, I'm Chris Athanas. I'm a KMP developer, and today I forgot to tell you that the tech support said they called. They're coming out on Tuesday to fix that stuff up and hopefully close it for me, which nothing good. Anyway, I'm going to do reaction videos today to some stuff. Still talking about adventure-driven development because I know this is a very strange concept for most developers. Never heard of this before. Never even thought it was even possible. They may have actually started out as adventure-driven developers, but as soon as they got into their first junior mid role and they got into a tunnel of fake agile doom, they said, "Oh, the fun. I guess the fun's over. I guess the fun's over." It's like it may be over for a little while. I mean, you might have to do some tunnels of fake agile doom and tar pits of seemingly good ideas and dungeon grinding your burn down factory when they for somebody just need some bugs fixed and all the original team left and well. You're now the guy to fix it all for us. All right, so let's listen to Casey Muratori. That's easy to say for me. Let's listen to what he has to say about some of the impetus that makes people that are into adventure-driven development want to go and do the adventure. Now, there's the technical side, and there's a lot of the technical stuff maybe actually solved, but this is sort of a general thing like. For some problem you found that you can solve, you think you can solve it profitably with the tool set that you have, the skill set you have, you can at least make an attack vector on this chink of this monster. At least try and find the opening, at least. Maybe throw some pebbles at it and see what it's made of. Is it a tiny dragon? Is it a big dragon? Are there other dragons in there? When you're making the approach. Okay, let's listen to some of the factors that go into adventure-driven development, the mindset.
What do you think is the hardest challenge for you in programming these days? Really, it's the poor quality stuff.
Exactly. This is what everyone's issues is. There's the level, the bar is so low for most of the things we use and take for granted, and kind of just like think just how it is. It's just this poor quality stuff. So there's people that are sensitive to it. The creators and the destroyers are the ones on the bell curve of people that are in development into software and are trying to solve people's problems. There's a big hump in the middle of the people that just give me the checklist, give me the Jira tickets, let me do the fake tunnel of fake agile, let me do the death march. I don't mind as long as I get a steady paycheck. I'm good, right? But then there's the people who go, there's got to be a better way. This stuff is horrible. And it's this is the kind of person that's gonna be like, okay. He's not just gonna put up with it, right? He's not gonna do a tar pit, or he's not gonna just do a silverware dev agency. He's the kind of person that's going up the hill. It's like, oh, yeah, there's a lot going on there. Come on.
Honestly, between how bad Windows has gotten and how bad Developer Studio has gotten, and the fact that Emacs is so slow, and it's just all the tools are garbage.
So this is not about 9 years ago. Things haven't changed much. I'm pretty excited about KMP, the JetBrains stuff with their suite. Basically making their own kind of their OS layer that you write to that, and then when you need to go deeper down, you can do more stuff. So I'm pretty enamored with that level because that's actually quite a leap forward from what we've been dealing with. But this never ends, right? That'll become junk one day. So that it never ends. For the people on the adventure, it never ends.
That's the biggest challenge for me because it's like I don't know, I could go try to rewrite all those, and to some degree, I am starting to try and rewrite some major portions of what we use at Molly, but. It's a bit of a struggle, and it's always every day. It sucks nowadays because every day when you go in and do programming, you always just feel like you're so alone, right?
Right, and then when you're still doing these slogs with these the technology that we've grown accustomed to, which is hacks on top of hacks on top of hacks. A lot of it was just thrown together stuff by stuff jammed in there that really didn't belong there.
Right? Because you're that nobody who works on Visual Studio had any idea what they were doing. And that nobody who shipped the versions Windows 10 had any idea what they were doing, right? You're they didn't care about me. They weren't trying to make my experience better. They were trying to figure out how to put ads in it or how to make it good for, a Java programmer at IBM or whatever, right?
Right. So that has saturated all these secure companies and these secure industries are saturated with these types of issues. The people that work there, the people that use the products, everything all between. It's not for the end person's use. It's for this other thing that they got jammed in there somehow. And it's all up for grabs now. It's all up for grabs.
Right. And it's really frustrating. And so, John Blow, I guess, I don't know if he's still here on the stream, but he and I talked about this a long time ago. And I think I tapped out earlier than he did. I sent him a mail a long time ago where I was like, I think I got to start working on an operating system or something because I've had it. Like, I can't take it anymore. And he's like, I don't know if that's such a productive thing to do.
That's what our friend Dennis Ritchie did, right? That's what Dennis Ritchie did. Is like, screw all this. I'm going where this crazy guy's going. This crazy guy, Ken Thompson, right here, is like, I'm going to make an operating system. You are going to what? Are you crazy? It's like, yeah. I already got the thing running on a disk on an old computer that nobody wanted anymore. And I'm about 3 weeks away from having a kernel where you can do it interactive on that thing. He's like, Ken Thompson. And Dennis Ritchie's like, what? He's like, what? You're doing what? And he's like, I want to come on with yours. So it was Ken Thompson who found this particular quest that we're familiar with, right? I'm bringing this one up because all developers are familiar with the story. And if you haven't looked down to the details of it, it's super interesting because it didn't come top down. It wasn't AT&T saying, we're going to make Unix. It was this guy saying, everything fucking sucks. I just worked on your stupid Multics. I don't ever want to touch that thing again. He's like, it's like a burning desire to get up and destroy this dragon, man. This is what it takes. And then as you're on that quest, you get help. This guy is like super sad ending to his life. We really need to take care of the people who bring us this stuff because it's really sad what we do to talented people and how we just throw them away like they're nothing. And it's really sad. It's really sad how these companies treat this stuff, and we got to stop. This is one of the things adventure-driven development is about, is stopping the abuse of our talented people who can't protect themselves, right? So Dennis Ritchie, extremely, he's definitely on the spectrum for sure. Genius level guy, but he died by himself alone. It's so sad. He's so sad. He should have been surrounded by friends and people who really loved him. And it's just sad what's happened. This has to end. That you have people, anyone that's doing adventure-driven development, have to be aware that we're gonna get people in that don't always have our best interests in mind. Okay, this is a big part. Is adventure-driven development is humanizing this process. Back to humanizing, not the tick box Jira ticket burn down chart. No, we're not doing Scrum Alliance certification. Like, you got staff certification from the Scrum Alliance. The agile trademarks. No, we're not doing it. Scrub that clean, right? Some of the practices we will use. This is just a relabel. This is like a changing the mindset. What the hell are we doing with our lives?
System. And so he started.
Okay, I want to play that one in a minute.
There's so many things we could do. Is that really a good idea? But about a year later, he tapped out too, and he was just like, yeah, probably, like, it's all gone to crap, and we got to start doing something about it, right? And you'll notice he's actively doing something about it right now. Like, he's trying to make a new programming language because he's like, we got to fix this stuff.
And that's what Ritchie did. He says, you got to have a new programming language for this. We can't keep doing all this stuff in these custom assemblers every single time. This is taking forever, and it sucks. The whole process of going through the batches and doing all this stuff, we have to have something more interactive like we have now. We take it for granted what we have now on these machines. But there was a time you'd have to type with something and wait a day for it to come back. Are you kidding me? Wait a day for my results? No way. Things were taking way too. It's like, we can just add some more programmers. And then the Mythical Man Month, that was all that was about. It was like, we just throw 25 more programmers on it, and it should be fine, right? They can all do 25 jobs, right? That's how it works.
It's obvious that nobody else is gonna. So like somebody who actually cares has to go do it, right?
Right. Someone that actually cares has to go do it. So one of the things about this dragon is you really have to care about this particular dragon. You really have to be enamored by its glory, its vision, the vision that it puts in your head, and you see the chinks where you can attack it and destroy this thing and get to the cup, right? That's the whole thing. That's the attitude, right? Because if you don't do it, if you don't have the attitude yourself, someone else is going to have that attitude. Now, sometimes you're going to get on top of somebody else's thing, but it has to be this kind of level of thing for us, for the grinding people that want to do the maintainer people and the most big chunk. It's fine for them. Let them have that. And if you're in that category and this is pissing you off, it's not for you.
And personally, I think that's really awesome because it gives me a certain measure of hope every day to know that someone like John is working on a new language, because it means there's a chance that when I sit down to program in 5 years, it won't be about how awful C++ is and how nobody who works on that language has any idea how to program.
Well, 5 years talked 4 years ago, and it still sucks. Well, except for the Kotlin KMP, there are people over at the JetBrains organization who are in the same line mindset as him and as Dennis Ritchie and as Ken Thompson, right? They're thinking along the same lines, right, as these guys, because they're like, this sucks, this is terrible, this has to get better. We have to find a way up the mountain somehow, some way. And yes, in the meantime, we'll fight some battles for Google to get funded to keep us thinking. But they're going for this bigger thing. It's like we're building a whole layer that abstracts a lot of the operating. All these people operate my operating. No, it's Android. No, it's a Web3. No, it's a. Can we have a common thing on top? And that's what Dennis Ritchie and Ken Thompson are all about. It's like, can we just have a common thing on top and then recompile the operating system as needed? My machine's slowing down again here. All right, so my Dropbox kicked in and just tanked my performance. All right, let's keep going here.
Which is how I feel nowadays, right? I know it sounds harsh, but that's how I feel. I literally feel like the tools I use all day were written by people who have no idea how to program.
Exactly. And that's what Dennis Ritchie and Ken Thompson felt at the time. That sparked the microcomputer revolution. The whole networking, the whole thing was these two guys saying, this fucking shit sucks. And they took a risk and just went for it and did a whole paradigm that we still use today that honestly has seen its time in the sun. And we should be moving on by now from this stuff to something that looks a little bit more like what Alan Kay's talking about, what he's referring to, not his actual implementation of it, but the things he's thinking about and talking about, and how humans can, not only do we get these applications, we get to go in there and change them. They're not opaque closed boxes. They're open, and should be able to do that, but we're not there yet. So we have to build everything from scratch. That's why this big hump after this during the dev agency, when you go and you're trying to kill that, get that monster, there's a big hump, and it's like this. And most of us is like, can we even do? Is it even possible to get up there? Is it even possible to find the entrance that we can make an attack at this thing? We don't know. We have to keep looking. It might take a while. Let's and every developer, every entrepreneur has to keep doing that. So that has to have the eyes open to the possibilities around them, listening to the problems that they may be able to have a hand in solving somehow.
Like they're so far behind the curve on like how to program. And it's like the operating system, the text editor, the compiler, the debugger, they all just feel awful. You know, and they didn't used to feel that way. They used to feel pretty cutting edge. When I used to program on the Amiga, I was in awe of how good the text editor was.
Well,
and like,
compared to what? It was good. Compared to what? Well, compared to the next thing that we had, which was better than the thing we had before, and it just keeps going.
It was crazy to me that they were able to even do that stuff in 256K, right? And nowadays, you can't even get a text editor to update in real time, on a freaking dual SLI Titan or something, right? Forget it. Because it's just so slow, it doesn't even have to do with the graphics. They're running C# in the background and doing it right. And so that's a real challenge. Like, it really does make me miserable. Like, it really upsets me at some core level. And so
that's the kind of person, if you had that feeling from dealing with this tech and these tools and these processes, if you have that feeling, if you get that feeling, you're one of the people that is open for this adventure-driven development. You're one of the people that are open to it. And you probably imagine, you already know how this works. Like, you're already if we could just get rid of the damn Jira ticketing. We have a list of things we need to get done. They might change the priority. We might delete some. And I'll have a meeting when I need a meeting. In the meantime, I'm just working on my stuff. It has to. And how do you know someone's really on this quest or not? It's really difficult to tell, but you can feel it inside. You'll know inside. It's like, fuck, this stuff is crazy. I got to do something. This has to be either I got to find something or I got to do something. That's the kind of person that's ready for adventure-driven development. You probably already do it intuitively on your own projects. It's a way to term this stuff so the Agile and the Scrum people can shut the fuck up and to let the creative people come back in. And instead of having to sneak in the back door like these guys did to get Unix, there was not going to be Unix. These guys snuck it in because he wanted to play Space War. He wanted to make his little space game. If it wasn't for that, there would be no Unix. So thank games for having at least this level of tech that we can use he didn't get in the front door. He wasn't getting asked permission. He asked for forgiveness. It's so crazy, the story.
A lot of my hope for the future is just about, like, maybe if enough of us are this miserable about it, someday it'll change. And to a large extent, that was a huge motivating factor behind Handmade Hero, was that I felt like if I just kind of did some programming that maybe was like, here's how I like to approach programming problems, and I would like more people to start thinking about programming down at a lower level and caring about, like, more holistically what the code is doing, that might inspire people to do projects that would start to, change that culture, right? And turn it around to make it more like it used to be when the tools I used were good.
Well, I mean, because the culture goes through these phases, right? So it goes through this breakup thing. So some breakthrough technology happens, something happens. This guy gets a hold of a PDP-8, PDP-9, or whatever in the basement. He's like, leave me alone. I'm going to go create a new paradigm for operating systems. If you can just leave me alone. So let me deliver one thing for you that you've been dicking around with the Multics patent system. Let me do that for you, right? Let me fix that up, get that out the door based on some of the things I'm working on already. And then I'm going to go do this thing that's not an operating system, because they were totally against operating systems after the last project fails. Like, because that project failed, all projects are going to fail. It's like, Dickens, like, no, we're not having this. We have to change this whole thing. And it was him. This one dude is like, screw that. I'm going up the mountain. I see the opening. I'm going in for the golden prize. And when you're in that vein, you pick up help, right? You pick up guys like this who probably wouldn't have done it on their own. They wouldn't have tried to find the secret door. They wouldn't have tried the incantations or little systems. He just wanted to program, and he's like, there is a better way of doing these things, right? And these two together just vibed, right? With him being just an anarchist punk, like, hey, I'm doing it however the hell I'm doing this thing just because I want to, right? Because there's got to be a better way. And he's like, all the people he's ever talked to is like, no, this is the way it's been done forever. We must lock in every assembly language. Oh my God.
And honestly, like, I've been really encouraged by what's happened, because there actually is more than one person right now who specifically after watching Handmade Hero went and started like a text editor or something, right?
Yeah.
And like someone started a paint program recently too, right? And like that's just so encouraging, because I feel like it's not that hard to actually replace some of these things.
Right. So that's the tech side. I'm saying we can apply this now. We have all the software and all these platforms and all this stuff. We can start applying it to more focused problems, right? More niche issues. And what that is part of the journey, man. That is part of trying to find that opening. And you're only going to find it by looking around and poking around and having a little bit of luck.
Yes, it's a year or two of work, but it's not 20 years of work. It just takes some people to actually care about the quality of the end product.
Right. That's a major issue. And quality in terms of the consumer of it, the buyer, the customer, the person that's taking this thing in. How does it feel for them from the moment they hear about your company, what it does, the concept of it, the fact that you're doing it, going to what's the URL, what's the website look like, above the page, below the page, inside there. How easy is it to interact with your stuff? How easy is it for someone to come along and do the thing that you said you were going to do, the way they wanted it as much as possible? That's so rare. And people aren't even thinking along those lines. We've been in this ZIRP environment, zero interest rate policy. For 15 years, people think, oh, it's just getting the money. No, it's not getting the money. It's getting the customer. If you get the customer, you get the money, right? And this is what these guys found out. It's like, if we get the customer, which was him, and everyone else like him that was like sick of dropping off these things, these batch processing jobs that somebody else had to run. I want to run it. Give me a slice run. I'm already doing it over here with this basic stuff. Just give me a slice as well. Yeah. So
that's all it really takes, right? And so in some sense, like it really has been pretty awesome to see that start to happen, because if I can have any small effect on encouraging people to do that, it would make a non-trivial difference, even just selfishly in my life, to someday boot up an editor by someone and it's like, this editor actually works, right? Like, that will be so great. And
I'd call up a service, or you call somebody up to take care of something, and they actually do it. I don't have to call them back, or something that's not fucked up, or it does it the way they said. Yeah, that's like, what? And a lot of people are just going to be like, okay, that's how it's supposed to work. But some people are like, whoa, they actually delivered. What?
And so, I feel like there's a chance it's going to turn around. And I didn't feel that way probably like a year ago. So in some sense, like, yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna listen to that song. So let's listen to more of this interview here with Dennis Ritchie.
To come. The inspiration really was my colleague Ken Thompson, who was really very interested in writing an operating system, and so he started out, and I joined it very soon after.
Ken Thompson, Dennis Ritchie, and a handful of others were young programmers at Bell Labs, hoping to take computers from the workplace to the home front.
When Unix was created, there was no personal computer scene. Instead, it was this late 60s, early 70s was the age of the mini computer, and these were the first computers that, as distinct from the mainframes.
So it's the same thing today. Is like in the age of all these proprietary systems, there's now like one language, one set of libraries, one IDE, one set of documentation. That's JetBrains. So that's why I'm into this KMP stuff. We're in this next realm of this revolutionary thing, where we now have a moment where we're going from this mainframe type of thing. Now we're down to the mini computer. The same flip that happened, and he was integral because he made a technology like KMP. There was a universal layer. Instead of writing every single OS in assembly language again for all the different chips, all these manufacturers had all these chips ready to go. All these the different architectures, different strengths, all kinds of chips ready to go. But they didn't have an operating system until this guy came along and said, "You know what? We can make one operating system once, and then compile it, and you just write the assembly language that spits out the code for your particular chip, and we write it all in C, and you just write this little translation layer, and you get an operating system." And people are like, "What?" And that made the whole mini computer, and started the microcomputer revolution as well. Like, that whole thing of allowing that to happen, it made everything go.
Which were multi-million-dollar machines in the large organization. Mini computers were much cheaper. They were some tens of thousands of dollars, say. And they were cheap enough so that they could be afforded by an individual department in the company, an individual department in the university.
So now with the KMP, instead of having three or four teams, you can have one or two, like a back-end, front-end person. But even with the Kotlin X remote RPC stuff, you may not even need that in the beginning. You could probably do it with one person, but it is difficult after a while if you really want to scale something to have just their own person working on a project. But it's possible. It's not possible. You don't have to know iOS. You know Android completely to do a lot of the applications that can solve problems. You can just learn the KMP stuff and compose and get 99% of the way there, and the other 1% is figure outable.
And so it was the beginning of the decentralization of computing.
Yeah, right. So we're in another one of those phases now where we're decentralizing. So 23 minutes. I really wanted to do Paul Orfila's. I'm going to do this one next. Paul Orfila's 10 Rules for Success, because his attitude is also the attitude you need to do adventure-driven development. So I think I'm going to cut this one short and pick up the next video with Paul. And so yeah, I'm just trying to give you the vibe, the sense, not the letter of the law, guys. Box sticker project maintainers, it's not for you. These are for people that are like, oh, you have to think of it this way. It's not gonna be a defined path, and I gotta do stuff I don't really want to do. I have to fight it up with a bunch of different kinds of monsters, not all the same monster. A different monster, different kinds of monsters, all the way at the top, not just the same old ones, which the technical ones. Like engineers, I know we want to do the same technical thing all over and over. It's like, well, it's not that phase now. Well, there may be. I don't know. Maybe you can do it. Maybe you got something there. Anyway, I'm trying to give you the attitude that we had when we were when we were doing it. Was super fun doing it this way, by the way. And it does take skill. You do have to go down here and slog in these other things before you're like, oh right, I can do this myself. And it's not everybody. And if it's too scary, yeah, I get it. If it's too scary, it requires courage, right? All this stuff requires a lot of courage, right? All right, give me a like and subscribe. I'll talk to you later.